So now that we can move around our project, we want to be able to pass our objects from our view controller to our table view controller. So in this video, we're going to see how we can use NSUser defaults to do this. First, we're going to look at how we can bind elements using our if-let. Then, we'll append data into NSUser defaults, retrieve it from NSUser defaults, and finally look at how we update data within NSUser defaults. So we have everything ready now. We've hooked up all of our UI elements. We have a navigation flow throughout the project. What we want to start to do is to pass our dreams from one view controller to another. In order to do this, we're going to make use of a class called NSUserDefaults. This class is one of the ways iOS has for persisting data. NSUserDefaults is good for small amounts of data that don't require security, strong relational dependencies, or a life beyond the application. What we want to do is to allow our users to save their dreams in the first view controller, add it to the list of dreams they have already created, then display this list in the table view controller. We already have the bulk of the infrastructure we need, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is declare a dream instance variable here within the view controller when it's first created. Now, whenever I enter text into my text field and press enter, I'm going to set the name of my dream. And then, when I add an image to my image view, I'm also going to set the image URL of my dream. So, we can go to the save method. Here, I'm going to create a dictionary from the properties of my dream. First, I'm going to check NSUserDefaults to check to see if I have an array under dreams. And then I'll create an empty dictionary. So I'll put my key as name and set that to dream.name. I'll set achieved to false. I'll set the create date to the create date. And I'll set my image URL to image URL. Then I'm going to take my dictionary and append it to the end. I'll just change this to a variable rather than a constant. And now I can amend my array. And finally, I pass my array back into my NSUserDefaults by going NSUserDefaults.standardUserDefaults, set object for key, pass in the array, and set the key as dreams. However, there is another scenario, which is that if there is nothing in the array, then I need to create an array of one object. So I'm going to copy this and move this above my bind statement. And then I'm going to create an else statement. And in here, I'm going to create my array of one object and pass that through to the same NSUserDefaults that I set before. So that's saving done. What I now need to do is retrieve this. I want the action to happen just before my view appears each time the table view controller appears. So I can refresh the data and reload my table view. So what I will do is I'll write my code in the view will appear. So let's go to our table view controller. And since we don't have a view will appear, let's create this. So I'll write view will appear and then super.view will appear animated. As before, let's check if I have an array here. So it's NSUserDefaults.standardUserDefaults, object for key, dreams. And I'll bind this as an array. If this exists, then I'm going to create a new dream for every item within that array, using the data passed back within that dictionary. So first I'll create an instance of a dreams array. Then I'm going to do some binding. I'm going to check first if I have a name, and then I'll set that name as a string. And I'll repeat this process for each of my items. I check to see if it has an image URL, so I check to see when it was created. I check to see if it has been achieved. And then I add this to my dreams array. When I've done this, I'm going to set my dreams to this new array, and I'm going to type tableview.reload data. And now there's just a couple of items that I need to clean up, and that is, after I have selected or deselected a dream, I'll set my NSUserDefaults, standardUserDefaults, object for key with the new value. I'll do that here as well. Let's run this and test it out. So I'm going to click on the plus sign. I'm going to create a dream. I'm going to name this my dream. I'm going to select an image. and then I'm going to click Save. As you can see, when I click back, I now have my items within my table view controller. And so that brings us to the end of section 6. In this section, we've looked at how we can work with UI Navigation Controller and how we embed our view controllers within it. We can now move around using segues. And finally, we've managed to pass our objects from one view controller to another. In the next section, we're going to look at completing our project.